What is up, guys? So I've got my Nekroz deck profile for you here today. This deck is great. It really is amazing for the current format, and Dogmatika has really made this deck just so powerful. I mean, it just provides so much disruption, searching power, everything. I mean, I would say two of the main issues with deck Nekroz was, firstly, they would brick a bit. It's a ritual deck, and even though Nekroz is more efficient than most, it still would brick, which was a bit of an issue. And then the second issue is obviously maintaining board presence. The Nekroz monsters other than Unicorn don't really do anything on your opponent's turn. Well, Dogmatika solves two of those issues: one, by giving you a bunch of searches for your ritual archetype, and then two, by allowing you to create this really strong defensive wall with your Dogmatika cards, and then Fleur de Lis for added interruption during your opponent's turn. I mean, it's just so good. This deck, it's amazing. It's really amazing, and it deals with the current format very well. This is definitely a contender for Rogue / tier 3 in my opinion. I think Dogmatika and Nekroz is definitely one of the stronger variants. It easily outs Dragoon and things like that, because Unicorn is still an amazing monster even in today's format. I mean, everything about it, I love it. So I'm going to go straight into that profile. So we play the Dogmatika cards at 3-1. So we've got 3 Ecclesia. She's your main starter you want to see. And Nekroz doesn't really need a normal summon. You can play things like Manju, but I would much rather have 3 Ecclesia than 3 Manju. So she's a really good card. And obviously she's going to search your other Dogmatika cards. Now, obviously you're playing Nekroz, so you don't need to go into your extra deck. There is a different variant of Nekroz that I actually will be doing a profile on as well. But at least for this variant, you'd never really go into your extra deck. And so it doesn't matter that you're locked out. It's a ritual deck based on the main deck. We play 2 Maximus. Maximus is the real king, so Ecclesia is great for searching him, but this is why I actually play Maximus, because firstly, he's very easy to summon, because if you use your Kaleidoscope on your turn, you fulfilled his condition already, and this is a going second deck, even though it might not be immediately obvious. But the second thing also is that he can potentially get you 2 searches. I mean, if you get Maximus on the field, you almost guaranteed are going to resolve something amazing. I mean, having the 2 searches, you could search like a Brio and a Kaleidoscope, or you could search like a Trishula and a Kaleidoscope or something. I mean, it's just amazing what you can really achieve with this card. He's so strong for Nekroz, and I have a feeling Herald of the Arclight may end up being banned because of this deck, or Elder Entity. Something might get hit, because the ability to just dump cards like that is pretty insane, and it's being splashed into so many different decks. We play the 1 Fleur de Lis, just basically a free effect Veiler, and she also helps push for game, which is really nice. Nekroz also do struggle sometimes getting over big monsters, because their strongest is 2700, and decisive armor isn't really worth playing most of the time. But yeah, definitely a very nice card to have to kind of push over monsters again. And again, like I said, the effect of the Dogmatika cards to prevent themselves being destroyed by extra deck monsters is really nice, because this, combined with your ability to skip battle phases of Valkyrius, I mean, it's rare that you're going to come into a scenario where you don't feel like you can where you feel like you're just going to get pushed in the face and lose the game. I mean, it's just too hard. Moving on from that, we then play the Gamma package. Gamma is really good in this, because you've got so many effects that your opponent definitely needs to negate in hand, otherwise they're screwed. Things like your Kaleidoscope activation for Unicorn. If your opponent doesn't try and negate that, their entire board is going to get negated. Your Disciple of Nadir, your Imperms, your Preparation of Rites. I mean, everything in your deck is so good, and a lot of it activates in the hand. Your Brio as well, and so this is why Gamma is so good, and you will resolve him very often. Gamma is always a very strong hand trap, but his main thing is that he's good against other hand traps, of course. So in formats like these, where you've got either people making unbreakable boards like an Emancipate, or people main decking a lot of hand traps, you definitely want a card like Gamma in your deck. Definitely like it. It's a lovely card. Then we move on to our Nekroz package. So this is a bit of a more streamlined one, and it's really because Unicorn is at 3, we can get away with doing this. So I played 2 Trishula, 1 Valkyrius, 1 Gungia, 3 Brionac, 3 Unicorn, and 2 Clausulus. So this is a reason for it. Trishula, I would say, is your main removal, and that's why I do play him at 3. Really good monster. His secondary effect is also quite useful. Now, Valkyrius is a nice monster, and before I'd say he was worth playing at 2, but now that I have Unicorn at 3, if I really want him back, I can either get him out of the graveyard by summoning him, or I can use Nekroz of Unicorn to add him back to my hand. So I just never really feel like I need more than one. This is the same with Gungia. I do like Gungia, having Gungia in addition to these, because while Gungia's effect is kind of redundant having all of them, the advantage he has is that I can be more proactive about this. I don't have to wait for my opponent to attack or to target. He just straight up stops my opponent doing it. I don't think I've ever actually summoned Gungia, now that I think about it, but his effect on field is also quite good, to be able to pop any card you want on the field, which is great. Brionac is another really strong card. I mean, this is amazing. Searches your entire deck, firstly, which makes it very, very good. But then on top of that, the ability to spin 2 monsters on the field back to the extra deck is so good. And when you combine it with Unicorn, there's so many boards that you can just really quickly out. Adamantium is a really good example where their board, you don't care about most of the things they do. They have an Appaloosa on the board. Once you've got a Unicorn, that whole board is shut down, and then moving on from that, you can start spinning stuff back into the extra deck, and they just can't maintain any sort of board against you. Nekroz, this is what I really love about Nekroz. It just hard counters certain metas, and ones like this where you have a lot of builder board decks, this is a really good format for Nekroz, where it can just hard counter them by just out advantaging them and out grinding them. We then play 2 Clausulus. Clausulus could be played at 3, but I think that now that Unicorn's at 3, I'd rather just play 3 Kaleidoscope, 3 Unicorn than play 3 Clausulus and potentially search from those. I think it's more worth it. But yeah, Clausulus is another really good. His On the Field effect is also another one that's quite good. Just the ability to make a monster 0 attack is quite useful, and it helps you beat over certain cards, which is great. Moving on to our spell cards, so we play 3 Disciple of the Nadir. This card is amazing. Everything about this card is awesome. It's usually going to make you +1, which is amazing. So obviously you can send a card from your extra deck to the graveyard, so you can either send your Elder Entity for a pop, or you can send your Herald for a search, or you could send Bastard if you don't really need either of those, or you could send Omega if you want to recycle a card, or Totally if you want to recycle a card. Everything your extra deck is geared towards making those effects busted. So I mean, this card just does everything. Then it will search one of your Dogmatika cards, which is really, really nice. Preparation of Rites, very, very good card. Searches Brio, which means it searches everything in the deck, and after turn 1 it's going to add a ritual spell to your hand as well from your graveyard, which is going to be insane. Then moving on, we play 2 Mirror, 3 Kaleidoscope, 2 Cycle. So I used to play 2-2-2 as my ratios, or 2 Mirror, 2 Kaleidoscope, 1 Cycle. Those are the 2 different ratios I play around with when Nekroz with Unicorn is still at 1. But now that he's at 3, I think resolving Unicorn is key to winning most matchups. Even in matchups where you don't have a massive extra deck board, resolving Unicorn with Kaleidoscope is amazing because it gets you a search anyway. And so most of the time that's what I want, and I want that 2-card combo of Unicorn plus Kaleidoscope, which is why I play 3 Kaleidoscope to go along with those 3 Nekroz. If I see that, I mean, I'm smiling, so that's great. Mirror and Cycle, really, really good cards. Not amazingly relevant, to be honest. They usually come up sort of turns 2 and 3, but most of my games in this deck are over on the first turn because it's so easy to clear their board and then just push for game. I played the 1 Cosmic Cyclone, just had a space for him in my deck, and it's really just for dealing with back row and dealing with those Mystic Mines. You do have ways to do it quite easily. You can clear your own board quite easily in this deck, but it's still nice to have that one off just because I had some space. Could play Upstart instead if you wanted. And 3 and Perm, strong card this format, no reason to not play it. So moving on to the extra deck, we play 2 Bastard the Ashen Dragon, or Titanic Lad. Now, I look at the pictures when I'm reading it, that's why I keep saying Bastard the Ashen Dragon. But yeah, Titanic Lad, the Ash Dragon, really nice monster just to search any of your Dogmatika cards, all special summon them in the end phase, which is great. 3 Elder Entities, very easy to resolve obviously, and get you a free pop. Tzolk'in, so the main reason why you play Tzolk'in is just because he allows you to either, with Kaleidoscope, one interesting thing about Kaleidoscope that a lot of people don't realize, Kaleidoscope doesn't force you to summon 1 monster. What the card's tech actually reads, this card can be used to ritual summon any number of Nekroz rituals monsters. And again, it specifies here again, ritual summon any number of Nekroz monsters. So you play Tzolk'in just so that, for example, if you had a Unicorn and a Valkyrius in your hand, you could summon them both. You could summon 2 Brios, you could summon a Trishula and a Clausulus. That's the kind of advantage that it does provide. There are other things you can do, but it will surprise your opponent, and you can often get a lot of damage out or get really good effects together, like for example negate your opponent's board and then banish some stuff because of that, which is a really, really nice thing to have. This is why I like having the 1 Tzolk'in in my extra deck. We play 1 Omega, as explained. It's very easy to resolve because Gamma is almost certainly going to proc at some point during your game, and he's also a nice card to send to your graveyard because he can recycle cards back. This is another reason why I feel fine with playing 1 Valkyrius or 1 Gungear, because Omega goes to my graveyard, then I use his effect, I shuffle 2 cards back, one of them will be whichever one I need, the other one will be himself back into my extra deck. Very easy. This deck has an amazing grind game. Moving on, we play 3 Herald, busted card, such a busted card. I'm scared because especially when Divine of the Heralds come out as well, this card definitely will go in my opinion. Then we play 1 Totally Awesome, a similar reason we play Omega. You don't actually summon him though, he's entirely just for the ability to recycle Nekroz cards, and then just random cards. I randomly have 2 unicorns. I feel like I just pressed that because I was just filling up the rest of the extra deck, but yeah, it really doesn't matter what else you're playing, it's just for generic removal and such. But yeah, that is the main and extra deck. And then moving on to the side deck, you're quite flexible in Nekroz, and it's really dependent on the format. So for this format, I definitely like this kind of pick. So I have the 3 Lightning Storm, obviously, and 3 evenly matched with back row. Triple tactical talents. I mean, this card is amazing. The more I play it, the more I want it in every deck or every side deck. It's just so good. We play 3 Forbidden Droplet. I really like this card as well, obviously being able to negate a lot of monsters. It's, for me, I'm finding in this deck I rarely actually bring it out, so this could probably be switched to Dark Ruler no more. One disadvantage of this obviously is because it forces you to send cards from your hand. In a deck like this where your resources are quite important, you often don't have the extra to do that, but we'll see how it goes after playing it a bit more. And 3 Shared Ride. So I actually really like Shared Ride. Because of Dragman's ability to kind of wall off your opponent and things like Unicorn, it's very often that I get into those kind of slow grindy game states, and also against decks like Salad and Striker that occasionally pop around. This is a really good card to have just so that you can continuously gain an advantage and prevent your opponent doing too much craziness. It's also quite nice against the Infernoble decks, those warrior decks, spam decks that search 45 times in a turn. If you activate this, it's basically the same as Maxi. They have to end their turn because if they don't kill you that turn, they're screwed. That you're just gonna kill them with advantage to turn after that. But guys, that is my Nekroz deck profile. I really love this deck. I think it's amazing for this format. Definitely a rogue or low tier free contender. I think we will see it top something. But yeah, if you've enjoyed that, make sure to leave me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.